Hello, and welcome to the People Often Suck podcast, where we talk about the suckiest suck that currently sucks. I'm your host, Tom.
And I'm TC.
And at the end of our episodes, we're going to share uplifting stories that will bring hope back into your heart. But for now, let's start off with our first story.
So back in 2016, there was this young lady. At that time, she was 34 years old and a mother of two. And in Redding, California. Do you know where that is?
I know it's a place in California.
Is it the second part that gave that away? Redding, California?
It maybe helped.
Okay, it helped a little bit. So Redding, for all of you SoCal people who are, only think that the world revolves around Southern California.
As it does.
Redding is located north of Sacramento, so it's in Northern California.
Oh, hell yeah.
And
that's what they say.
It's a nice, quaint little town up there. A lot of people from Redding go down into the Bay Area in Sacramento or over to Tahoe. So it's really kind of located in a nice, central location with a lot of great places for them to go visit. Not necessarily a lot to do in Redding itself, okay?
Probably why I haven't heard of it.
Exactly. But you're going to hear about it today. So this 34-year-old mother of two kind of went missing for a few weeks. So she had gone on a morning jog and disappeared. And her husband, Keith Panini, had reported her missing that evening after he came home to find that she wasn't there. And hadn't even picked up the kids either from daycare, which is, obviously very unlikely of her to, or
characteristic.
Yeah, the characteristic of her would shows that obviously being irresponsible, she didn't pick up the kids. What's going on? So she had been missing for at least 3 weeks. Extensive, searches. A motorist finally spotted her on Thanksgiving morning walking alongside a road in Yolo County, California. Not going to ask you where that is, but...
Yolo?
Yolo.
You're making that up.
No, it really is. The Yolo County. It's in...
Y-O-L-O?
Yes, Y-O-L-O. It's actually located in also Northern California, okay? They have a lot of interesting names up there. Don't make fun of my...
Oh, I'm definitely making
my
fun.
NorCal, okay? My NorCal roots. So Yolo County, about 150 miles from where she was, where she last was known to exist in the Redding area. So when she was found, she looked malnourished, badly beaten, and she claimed that she was abducted at gunpoint by two Hispanic women in a dark SUV. She also further claimed that these women tortured her and branded her skin. There's some crazy crap that could go on in Northern California, I'm telling you.
Yeah, see, this is why people make fun of you.
There'll be plenty of stories. I'll definitely look for some Southern California stories. So I wouldn't...
Oh, nothing happens in Southern California.
Yeah, no, nothing at all. No. So obviously they discover her. She's at the hospital. Keith is excited. My gosh, she's alive. That's wonderful. So he rushes over to the hospital in Woodland, California. That's in Yolo County. What's interesting is that Keith says that as soon as I saw her face, the way she looked at me at that moment, I just felt this is fake and not real. The plot thickens. This is her husband. She's been missing for 3 weeks.
Yeah, see, my caveman mind, I automatically assumed the husband was behind this. That's usually the case.
Are we channeling Scott Peterson?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he's totally innocent, of course,
Yeah, so was OJ.
He was looking up until the day he died. He was looking for the killer.
Mm-hmm.
So just recently, as recent as November of 2024, it marks, to be exact, on November 24th itself, marks the 8th year since the day that Sherry Papini was found. So after several investigations, the truth of her abduction was finally revealed. What they found out was that Sherry was making up the entire story.
So she wasn't kidnapped and branded.
No. She made up the entire story. And yet, Keith, the very dutiful, responsible husband, tried to stick by her side the whole time, believing her, defending her, and all of that, even though the authorities were starting to question the legitimacy of her story itself. So Keith said that he had constantly was trying to solve the case because at the end of the day, he wants his wife to be innocent. Unfortunately, he wouldn't have wanted her to have gone through something horrible like being tortured and branded and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, he also doesn't want his wife to be guilty of something that possibly she didn't do, and that is completely coming up with this hoax. But every time she would share a different piece of her story, he eventually was sharing a lot of this stuff to the FBI as they were conducting their investigation. So at one point, the case just seemed like it was cold and they weren't getting anywhere with the abduction and torture story and all of that. So when they started poking holes in her claims, finally, the authorities learned that 22 days that she was missing, she was actually willingly at a home of her ex-boyfriend in Costa Mesa, California.
I see what you did there. You had to tie in Southern California.
Well, how do you feel about that, huh? So Southern California is also involved in this.
Yes, but in our defense, we are so awesome that wives have to fake kidnappings to come visit us.
Got it.
Because the husbands are so jealous of us.
Wow, I didn't realize that you're going to go off of that, huh? Okay.
Yes.
By the way, I have now lived down in Southern California way longer than I ever did up in Northern California. So you can try to claim whatever you can or whatever you want on that, but
you can't have dual citizenship. It's them or us.
So when all of this kind of came to light, of course, Keith, felt blindsided and in shock of when the facts came out that she faked all of this story of being abducted and tortured and branded and all of this, only to find her way down south to be with her ex-boyfriend. Now she has again 2 kids.
Yeah. So how ex is this boyfriend?
Well, it just says ex-boyfriend. It doesn't talk about, maybe they're really, really ex now because she ended up making her way back north where she was then discovered, on Thanksgiving morning.
And she made herself look beat up and malnourished.
Well, maybe she was distraught after the ex-boyfriend's like, damn, girl, you're not the same anymore.
It just seems like a lot.
Yeah.
It just seems like way too much work.
So she was thankfully charged with 1 felony for making false statements to federal agents and mail fraud, which, by the way, believe it or not, you don't want to get caught in a mail fraud situation because that also is a felony. And so she had to pay back $300,000 in restitution, basically, for all of the time for the extensive search that was going on during her 3-week absence. And she had to spend 18 months in prison. But she did get early released in 2023.
Oh, good.
But she has lost her family. So Keith did file a divorce, thankfully. I think that was the smartest move there.
Yeah.
And she's lost total custody of her children as well.
Also good. Anything come of this ex-boyfriend? Like, did he
no
conspiracy or anything? Really?
No mention at all. So I don't even know who the ex-boyfriend is. But I do have people looking right now in Costa Mesa to see if they can find him. No, obviously not. But I did know the mayor at one time of Costa Mesa, so I'll ask him if he knew anything about this case.
Oh, okay.
You never know.
Just gonna name drop that, huh?
Oh yeah, of course. Why do people feel it necessary to go and you made a commitment with your spouse? You even had kids, and then you're going to pull crap like this? Seriously?
He must have a really nice car.
He must have had a really nice car. You're talking about the ex-boyfriend, obviously.
Obviously.
Maybe it's the weather. because, Costa Mesa weather, I'll be honest with you, is a lot nicer than Northern California weather. They actually have seasons up there.
Oh, heck. I mean,
I'm going to take you up there sometime so you can see.
I've been to Northern California. I've been to wine country.
Yeah.
That's about all you got.
Okay. No, that isn't. There's a lot more. I'll take you river rafting down the American River.
Yeah. I've been in water before.
Yes, and you nearly melted. So, well, I hope you enjoyed that story. I think it's nice to see that not only can guys be POSs, Scott Peterson being one, what he did to his wife, but wives can also be POSs and what they've done to their husband and their family. So I hope this girl, she's not even attractive, but hopefully this girl finds...
just piling on.
Well, look, she's not attractive.
Well, her husband thought so.
Well, maybe he just lapse of judgment at that time.
The beholder, that sort of thing.
Well, let's move on to our next wonderful POS. I'm sure that you have.
I just so happen to also have a female POS.
Wow, this episode's all about females. We'll see how the positive story goes at the end.
This is a girl boss episode.
A girl boss episode. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I had previously talked about a murder not too long after our recent 2020.
Did it happen on a plane? Because, we just had one that flew over.
No, this one was on the ground.
Okay. We just want to acknowledge that if you hear a plane, it had nothing to do with the story, but keep going.
So I had previously brought up a story about a murder that happened around the time of our last election, 2024. Well, there was another one.
Connected to the election?
Yes.
Wow, really?
Yeah. People be crazy.
You just went out searching for 2024 election murders?
You know what? I didn't even really have to do that much typing. I just typed in 2024 and there's...
Really?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. Google is just handing it over.
Well, do tell. I can't wait to hear.
Okay, so...
your other one was pretty bad, so...
Well, this actually happened on election night, November 5th.
It was that horrible?
Did you get a call?
I did, sorry.
Remember when I said silence our phones?
Well, it was silence. It was my stupid watch that was making the noise.
So, as I was saying,
November... The other one was in Minnesota. You're right.
It
you
was.
Just brought that memory back. Okay, keep going.
This happened November 5th, the night of the election.
Okay.
Our POS is Corey Burke, and she did not like that her father kept the lights on for whatever reason.
Just in general? I mean,
yeah.
On every other night, are the lights
Yeah, for whatever reason. They had this argument about him turning off the lights.
He wanted them on,
yes.
She wanted them off.
Yes.
Okay.
Her father, 67, they had this big fight. And the reason why this is tied to the election is because she purposely stated that this election was very, very important, and somehow that involved the lights being on or off.
Was it if the lights are on, it's for one candidate. If the lights are off, it's for a different candidate?
It could very well have been some sort of signal.
I mean,
I honestly,
okay.
yeah, trust me, I tried to find some reasoning. There is none.
Okay.
So
I'm intrigued. I want to hear more.
So because of this argument, she left the room and got one of those mountaineering ice pickaxes.
Okay, wait. You're talking about it's 12 inches long and it's very pointy, very sturdy.
Yeah, you have a blunt end, you have a pointy end. Yeah.
So the pointy end hurts.
Well, when stabbed with it, yes.
So you should use the blunt end if you are going to try to make a point with somebody.
Which she did. She used both ends.
She used both ends. Wow.
Yeah.
Very versatile.
Yeah, so she pretty much tripped, bit, and beat her father.
In that order?
Possibly.
So she tripped him.
So yes, she did. She tripped him to get him on the floor.
Okay.
So she would have the advantage. Because even at 67.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we don't know what his build is, but yeah.
No. So she got him on the floor. There was some tussling at some point she bit him.
Mike Tyson move, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she used the axe to beat her father. And at one point, the blunt end, kicked him. And at one point, she used the pointed end to
finish him off.
Yeah, which punctured his lung.
Oh, crap. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Like right in the side?
Yeah, and that didn't kill him instantly. He basically...
Did he bleed out or did he suffocate?
Both.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
Yeah, so basically you have a hole in your lung.
Yeah.
There's only so much time you have on this earth. And she just sat there and watched him die.
No way. She sat there and watched him.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Then, out of some sort of like spiritual awakening or whatever, she thought, you know what? I'm going to just go around the house and smash windows because I'm knucking futs. So,
well, that's one way of getting around the word, but okay.
So this is what alerted neighbors. It's like, hey, crazy neighbor is breaking windows. What's going on? So
did she use the blunt end of the picker?
You know what? I don't know if she used the axe or not. I just was throwing objects out the window.
Or did she leave the pick in his body?
No, because, and we'll get to that. So neighbors called the police because, hey.
Crazy woman is over there breaking her windows.
Yeah. And it's kind of like a welfare check of sorts. Like, hey, what's going on? You okay? And based on her reaction, her demeanor, she wasn't really answering questions. They thought, okay, you're unwell, so we're going to take you away to a hospital to get checked.
And they still don't know right now that there's a body inside.
No. They did find out, I think possibly from the neighbors, that there's another person in there. So they go in to do a check.
Well, that's because Gladys Kravitz, keeps a eye on the neighbors, and thankfully knows that, hey, there's two people in that house.
So they enter, and that's when they kind of basically see everything. They see a bloodied axe on the floor. They see what clearly looked like a fight took place. They check room by room, and they find her father's body downstairs in the basement.
Were the lights on or off?
Ooh, well, I think at this point they had to have been on.
Well, no, but she wanted them off.
She did. She must have forgotten.
So at the end of the day, eliminated the very thing that was arguing with her about the lights, but yet she didn't follow through on herself and shut the lights off.
I really don't know.
Well, that was a waste of a murder.
So upon learning about what happened here, they took her to Harborview Medical Center for observation, basically. So since they have her there, they learn of the father, and it's like, okay, well, we got to arrest this bee. So right now, as this continues, because she hasn't seen her day in court yet, prosecutors requested a $2 million bail.
Yeah, I mean, don't let the psycho out.
Which I'm just like, why even offer a bail at that point?
Right. You want to keep her.
Yeah, why don't you just make it $1 trillion while we're at it?
Right.
So basically they're like, okay, well, we're going to make this high enough that, okay, you can't get out. Mm-hmm. But if you can, well, we make a little money.
Because obviously the woman's going to be guilty, but go ahead.
Yeah. So they put that high bond on her, and then they're going to make her go through some kind of like mental health evaluation or something, probably to see if she is mentally capable to stand trial.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's currently going through the process as far as her being prosecuted and all of that stuff.
Well, based on what we know, it doesn't sound like she's innocent.
No, not at all. I mean,
because she hasn't. She
found a different use for an axe pick, which is really an axe pick. Ice pick.
She hasn't disputed the fact that she's done it. We know the story.
But do we know what made her snap?
Based on interviews, the whole lighting thing doesn't make sense. But she made it about this election, that they had to observe the election. It was the most important election of their lifetime. Da 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 da. When we need the lights off. See, that's where you lost me.
Yeah, I mean, observing is one thing, but do you need to do it in the dark? because it's the most important election ever? I mean, that doesn't make sense.
I don't know. I mean, do you remember what you did on election night?
Yeah, I do. I was trimming my toenails.
So you weren't murdering anyone?
I was murdering my little toe.
Yeah, I walked into that. I was murdering a chicken sandwich I ordered.
You were murdering a chicken sandwich? Good. That is just crazy that you would end your father's life.
Yeah, over something like this. Somebody who raised you and you were living with. And this was the line in the sand, huh? Is some lights.
I hope she enjoys the next election from jail.
Yeah, shame she can't vote for that one.
Yeah, well, too late there. Well, I think we should move on to a more positive story because these were both kind of disturbing. So you have one that is a feel good story, right?
I do. I'm not a car guy. You're not a car guy, but I think just about any guy, if given the opportunity, they know which car they would buy out of like the entire lineup of cars in history.
Sure.
Okay. I would pick a muscle car. I think most guys would probably pick a muscle car, or no. Maybe they go classic,
I like more style.
You like style?
Yes.
What's style for you?
Well, as one example.
A Model T?
A Model T. Well, are you talking about a Tesla Model T or an old-fashioned Model T?
I'm talking about the original.
The original. Hey, that was stylish back then. No, I mean, I like a certain particular look with my vehicle, and it doesn't have to be the fastest one, although I am driving a relatively fast car, not because it's a Beamer or a Mustang or whatever else. It's a Tesla, so they are pretty darn fast. But they're stylish to me, so that's why I picked it.
Okay. Well, this gentleman, he sold his 67 Camaro 40 years ago so he can afford diapers for his son.
Aw.
Yeah, that was his dream car.
Really?
Yes.
So back in the 60s, or he bought a 67 later on?
He bought a 67. So 40 years ago, this was...
40 years ago. Yeah, definitely. That's what, the 80s? Yeah.
Yeah. So that was his dream car. But you know what? He put his son first. And it's like, you know what?
That's a good dad.
We need diapers. But the story's not about him. The story's about his son.
Oh.
So his son had heard this story multiple times. And a few years ago, he thought, I'm going to pay him back. And his son found a 67 Camaro nearly identical to the one his dad would talk about. Restored it, and on his dad's 65th birthday, surprised him with it.
So he bought it, restored it. That wasn't the exact one he sold, right?
No.
He just happened to find...
He just happened to find the exact make and model, and he fixed it up, painted it, got to look basically exactly like the one his dad had. And on his 65th, he handed him the keys to the car and said, it's yours.
You know, there's a term, not to get preachy, and I won't, I promise, but there's a term about the sins of the father. But this is the opposite, because the father did a very selfless act back then when the family needed the money to take care of the son. And he gave up something near and dear that he loved to take care of his son.
Yeah.
And then the son, who obviously has received great genes from dad and having the right example of selflessness taught to him, look, there had to have been other things in life for this kid to grow up, to learn the right things about life overall. Mm-hmm. For him to do that, I mean, that wasn't cheap.
No. And he even said he could have bought, something stupid for himself. But
yeah,
instead, he bought something for his dad that he knew his dad loved and would continue to love.
Well, it's a keepsake now from his son.
Exactly.
And it closes that loop going back 40 or so years ago for when his dad made the sacrifice for him. It closes that loop.
Yeah, it's not just a car now.
Right. Back then it was just a car.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's a sacrifices I made for my son. He turned around and made sacrifices for me and gave me something back that I love near and dear to my heart 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not mistaken in the story, I believe, though, that just the very next year, he ended up crashing the car. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding on that. I did not hear any of that. But I think that's awesome. Where are they located?
I think it was like out in, Midwest.
Where the values are still there and family is still important.
And you can still find a 67 Camaro.
So I think that's very cool. I love that story.
So did I.
Thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of your busy day. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe for more stories. And as always, be good human for F's sake.